This episode of This Agile Life has been brought to you by BrilliantAgile.com, providing Agile and Scrum training, consultancy, and personnel.
BrilliantAgile.com. Done right, it's brilliant.
Released on Sunday, June 15th, 2014, This Agile Life, episode 53, Gnat Crap Chart.
Our exclusive sponsor tonight is CodeShip.
CodeShip is continuous deployment made simple. Try CodeShip for free.
Setup only takes 3 minutes at codeship.io.
The software industry transforms more and more every day. Agile methods are quickly replacing traditional ones. The question is, are you agile enough? This podcast is devoted to agile and lean software development. Time to welcome your agile coaches on This Agile Life.
Hello everyone, I'm the host of This Agile Life, John Sextro. Joining me today and in my home office/studio, Amos King.
Excuse me, John. Sorry, I just farted.
Wonderful. We're in here like a Dutch oven. Thanks, buddy.
No problem. God, that smells fantastic.
The podcast is already off the rails. Also joining us tonight, Lee McCulley.
I'm in my basement, and there's lots of room, and it's just me. Thank goodness.
Yeah, you're fortunate not to be here in my tiny office. At least we have a fan so that it can quickly dissipate.
John, can you take your hand off my leg?
Any problems? We may be in trouble, Lee. Let's see how this goes. Okay, folks, tonight we're going to talk about some agile practices. This is kind of a wild card episode because we're going to put some things out there. We haven't really prepared our statements as much as maybe we have in the past. But tonight we're going to take a couple of sides of maybe some various issues. And the first question I put before you all tonight is, what practice would cause you to leave a team? So the basis of this is, what I wanted to do is ask, like, what are your favorite practices that get used on teams? But I thought that would be too boring. So I'm changing it up a little bit on you guys. And I want to know, if a team did this particular thing, it would probably force you completely out of the team. Let's start with Lee.
Okay, so for me, I really enjoy the fact that I can come home to my family every night, and then I'm happy about what I got accomplished during the day. So to me, if I was regularly having to spend more than 40 hours without my I usually spend more than 40 hours, but it's because I'm just enjoying what I'm doing. That's different. But if they force me to spend more than 40 hours a week on a regular basis, then I am out of there. That something is wrong on a management side. Something's wrong with the process, and I am not going to stick around and ruin my health because of the stress.
Okay, Lee. So you mentioned that you do more than 40 hours, and I think a lot of us do, mostly because, like you said, you enjoy it, right? I mean,
right.
You like the job. You'd probably go home and do this anyway. Almost, it's like a hobby for you, right?
Exactly. And a lot of times I come home and there'll be some particular problem that I could have spent time at work to spike out or something like that. And sometimes we do, but sometimes they're kind of off the beaten trail, but it's just some idea that occurred to me during work hours. And I just want to try it. And so I come home and spend some time trying stuff on a laptop or on a VM or something like that at home, and take it back to work if it turns out that it was good. So
let me challenge you a bit on this, Lee, because almost any hour that you would put in at a place where you didn't like it would feel like forced time. Right? If you just didn't like the place and you didn't like the work, and maybe you didn't like the type of an application that you were working on, or the language, or the lab,
your coworkers,
or the lab that you were forced to work in.
Well, I mean, there's a big difference. Like, I know some places here in St. Louis, unfortunately, that have like bunk beds in the lab, and that's kind of a big push to like try to get you to stay there, and that kind of bothers me.
So the bunk beds are encouraging you to sleep there?
Oh, they had one guy that stayed there. I think they said 80 days without leaving.
Did he just not like his family or his house or something?
I don't know. He said that they had a release, so they got to keep going.
Maybe he really liked the job.
That's true. That's true. If you like the job enough that you stay there 80 days straight, more power to you. I love you.
So Lee,
Your job.
is this really a thing of overtime, or is it if you didn't like what you were doing, that it would be a problem for you?
It sounded like to me that, go back to Tice's
Are you
story.
Lee?
I'm sorry, I keep jumping in here. I'll just shut
Objection, leading the witness.
Shut up. I'm backing up. I'm backing
Okay,
up.
so to answer your question, John, it is about overtime because you asked what would make me leave. So I can put up with a particular project or a particular team or even a particular management style that I don't care for or I don't necessarily agree with for quite a while. It's not like I haven't done that before, but if it gets to the point where I'm constantly being forced because of bad management practices to spend my extra time and my time with my family at work, then there's only so long I will put up with that.
I really like it when you have the manager who comes in and says, I need you guys to stay late and get this bug done because it's causing us a lot of problems. And I'm going to go have dinner with my wife. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, those are the good guys. Okay, I'm gonna throw a wrench into the game here, into the situation that we're having, and now I'm going to ask you, Lee, would there be, and you don't have to tell me what it is, right? Because that might be too personal. But is there a dollar amount that would sustain you, even if it were a crazy amount of overtime, and not to the point where you were necessarily having to sleep in the office, but there was, you were making X amount of dollars, and could that ever be high enough within the realm of reason, right? Because you could easily say, oh, for $20 million a year, I would work 24/7 or something like that. But within the realm of a range of reality.
Of reality.
The
answer is basically no. I'm too old for that. If I were 20 years younger, maybe. If I didn't have a family and people that depended on me for other things, then I would consider it. I can do stuff for money, but at my age, it's not worth it. There's more to life than money.
I completely agree. I think that you also get burnt out when you work that many hours to the point that you're not effective at learning and progressing your career forward. You get stuck in places like that because it's really hard for you to sell yourself to somebody else whenever you're completely fried all the time and you're not learning new things.
I would challenge Lee here and say, I actually don't think it has anything to do with your age. I think I'd like to take this example of what Lee is stating and tie it back to sustainable pace on teams and say that this is why within Agile, sustainable pace is very important, or it has been made very important by people that practice Agile. Amos made some very good points. If you don't have that downtime to let your batteries rest, to recharge, to do interesting hobbies at home, and let your mind explore things, have some creative time.
So I was going to say play.
Right, play. You won't be as effective at work. And while you may be in there banging away, working the problem and putting the hours in, you're not going to be as effective as if you had that playtime to rest. So I don't think Lee in this case necessarily would have all that much to do with the fact that you have a family, but it could have been maybe in your younger days you wanted to pursue higher education, or you wanted to play on a softball team, because we don't work just to work. Work is not our sole motivation in life, right? I mean, we work so we can have money, so that we can spend time with families, play softball, pursue your hobbies, pursue your other activities in life, travel, all the things that make up life. And it's not just work. I grant you, I think we all enjoy the jobs that we do, and that's one of the reasons why we go. But again, it's not the only thing that keeps us going every day. So I think for everyone, sustainable pace is very important. And I think if we tie this all back into sustainable pace, it makes a lot of sense when you look at it from the eyes of Lee as he's depicted it to us tonight.
Well put, John. That's kind of where I was thinking as well.
Okay, Amos, you want to go next with either what did I say? Why would you leave, right? If they did this to you or they did this on the team, then you would leave.
All work for work must be done in the office. And I'm not talking about like, I have to have full-time remote work. What I'm saying is that I want to be able to work from home sometimes. I wake up at 2:00 in the morning and I have this idea. I want to be able to grab my laptop, log into work, and maybe get it out just so that it's there because I need it out now. Or even then just to be flexible, the flexibility of being able to say, hey, look, my wife's sick and my kids are sick and I need to help take care of them today. I'd like to be able to work a couple hours while they're taking a nap and be able to work from home.
That's interesting. And why really is that so important? Because in days gone by, in the not so recent past, there were jobs where, even in software development jobs, where you just couldn't work from home. Either they didn't have the capability, or it would be, too onerous of a process where you would have to copy all your code onto floppy disks.
Well, and I think there are still those jobs out there. Like there's some government jobs where you might be working on some secret project or something, and you would have to be able to be in the office full time in order to do anything. They're just not jobs that I would take. I think that you can do some effective stuff. I think being outside of where you might normally do your work helps those creative juices and can help you do a really good job. And I just think that any place that I'm going to work should offer some flexibility and understanding, or I don't want to be there. That's like I guess I want management to treat me the way that I would treat employees of mine, which is give them the flexibility to live their life.
Is this really about being able to work from your home or work remotely, or is it about just having flexibility from an employer to take, let's say you had no ability to work from home because you had one of these situations, rare situations where you could only write code in this lab place. It was something secret that you're working on, but at least the employer was flexible in terms of, hey, if the kids were sick or wife's not feeling well, or you just need to take a day off, you can do those things without necessarily having to be able to work remotely or from home. Would that be acceptable to you?
I think it would, but like the big thing is really just the, it's different when we talk about like a secret stuff where you have to be inside of a lab that is inside a Faraday cage or whatever to work on it, as opposed to just someone saying there's no way anybody here can ever work from anywhere except for inside of here because I don't think it's effective. Like it just feels, I don't know. It's just, I think that being able to get out builds some of the.
So Amos, it sounds to me like what you really want is your managers to trust you.
Yes, I do. I feel like that whenever they want people in the office only to work, many times it is a trust issue because the guy sitting in the office, they think if he's in the office, he must be working, which often isn't true either. And I've heard a lot about, there are other people talk about teams and team being tight and close and being able to work together really well. And they think that you need to be in the office in order to do that. And I still think that full time in the office, no. And just that flexibility to let you sometimes be at home, I think would be something that there's no way I'm going to take that job.
Okay, John, your turn.
Okay. I was just going to make one last point that I think, Lee, you made a good point that it probably a lot equates back to trust and maybe a lack of trust. But trust is obviously one of those things that we've talked a lot about on the show in terms of being successful. I was so busy asking you guys the questions, I didn't think too much about what my answer was going to be. So I'm glad you asked, Lee, and didn't let me off the hook. I think the practice that I would cause me to, what practice, if done, would cause me to leave a team. And believe it or not, I don't think I can go back to working in cubicles.
Agreed.
I've worked, and it's funny because I can't even remember when I had a cubicle or an office the last time. And it was actually funny because when I first started my career, my first full-time job, I had an office, and it was weird because it was just an old building where all there was offices. So everybody got an office, and I shared an office. But anyway, I digress. I can't remember the last time I actually worked in a cubicle, and I don't think I could. I think if I had to do that, I would kind of go a little sideways, crazy maybe, and I'd spend half of my time. Wouldn't you guys too spend like half of your time all day like running around to talk to the various people? I feel like I need to talk to so many people throughout the day, and all those people are massed together in an open workspace, usually wherever I'm at, and having a cubicle would like unbelievably destroy my productivity. So I would have to say cubicle, having to live in a cube farm, having to be a gopher in a cube farm would probably be the worst thing that I can think of right now.
Especially the beige and gray cubicles.
Oh yeah. Those are...
That's an interesting one. Because I was in an office before I came to my current job over 6 years ago, and I went from having my own office to and basically being able to work on whatever I wanted to work on, as long as I could manage to convince people to give me money for it, and went to a place where there were no cubicles. There was you didn't even have your own computer, right? Because everybody had shared systems, and if you wanted to make a phone call, you pretty much had to step away and go find some empty space someplace and make a phone call. And I would never want to go back to the office thing.
It's really weird how liberating it is when you jam yourself in with a bunch of people and you're really close together and you have no private area anymore. For me, I just take over the desks anyway and pile all my crap on them. Hey, look, there's pictures of my family on every desk in the war room.
So the other thing that I think is interesting about that, John, is that I don't know if the open floor concepts came out of Lean or not, but to me they go so closely hand in hand that one of the whole concepts behind Lean is having things right where you need them, right, to facilitate effective and efficient communication or work patterns, that sort of thing. So your blank paper should be right next to your printer, so you don't have to go to some storeroom to get paper. All that kind of little teensy crap that people don't think about how important it is. But then when you're in a situation and you've got all these people that you need to communicate with, and they're all right next to you, that becomes so efficient, and really, to me, speaks to the whole lean concept. What's
funny about this is that this is such an important item to me because I've put it out there as it's the thing that would cause me to leave somewhere. But there are people, you're on one pole or the other on this issue. There's almost no in between. You either love it or hate it. There's very few people that are like, oh yeah, I could do it either way. Literally there are people that I've seen that have turned jobs down because they were going to have to work in a co-located, shared, open space, or because they weren't going to have their own computer or their own telephone or their own cubicle.
I've never met anybody in those situations that have worked in that, though. I've seen a lot of people say, I don't I could never do that, but they never have.
You mean they never accepted an opportunity to do it? They just said, I can't do it because they never tried.
Right. Most of the people that I know, even the ones that say, like, I've met people that said I could never do that, and then once they started doing it, they don't want to go back.
No, I absolutely have had people that started off, they were on a team, we transformed a team, took the team from cubicles to open space areas, and they're like, this isn't going to work for me. And they'd get up and they'd come in, they'd sit down, they'd be there for stand-up or whatever you did, and then they would leave and go back to their cubicle. And then it was like a battle royale, you know.
That's crazy. When was the last time you saw a movie where I was a disgruntled employee and wasn't in a cube?
I don't know. I don't see a lot of movies.
I mean, I worked for the post office, and we were in cubes, and I can tell you exactly why people shoot that place up.
It's all about the cubicles.
It's the cubicle.
It's not because of the. It's not
depressing.
It's not because of the unionized software developer that's asleep at his.
Oh, actually, that's my practice. We need to go rewrite mine. I would never go back to a place that has a union, ever. Even I didn't have to pay to be in the union, and I still got the benefits of the union. I will never, ever go back to a place that has a union. Ever.
You think he's going to go back, Lee?
I don't know. I'm not quite clear on it.
He's kind of on the fence.
I will seriously go flip burgers at McDonald's before I would go back to a place that had a union. Although that may be one that has a price.
I think the burger flippers at McDonald's have a union.
Oh, never mind. Forget that.
I didn't mean to stir up such a sore topic with Amos on unions, but again, I think that having open workspaces are very important. Lee, I like what you said about lean and having all of the things that you need to do the job right there. And in our case, all of the things are usually the people that we're doing the work with, right? So you really want all of those people right there. A long time ago, I wrote this article because I wrote this blog post because I'm going to tell you the truth, guys, all because I wanted to use a $5 word. Okay. But the blog post...
Defenestration?
No.
Sorry. Just looking for the $5 word.
I'm going to tell you what it is.
Okay, good.
If you would just let me talk.
Shut up. Hey, Lee, stop talking so much.
Yeah, it's all Lee.
We want John to tell us.
Senopalatine ganglioneuralgia.
Are you sure that's a word?
It is a word. You know what it means?
No.
It's the technical term for brain freeze.
Like brain freeze from drinking an icy?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Senopalatine ganglioneuralgia.
Ouch. That word just makes my brain freeze hurt.
I'm sorry, John.
Anyway, $5 blog post.
I don't know. I might have to edit this part out because
No, you cannot edit this out. This is why people listen to this, because we're fun. I think so.
I need my Merlin Man ring the bell thing because he does that all the time. You don't know who Merlin Man is?
Nope.
Oh my God. Okay. I'll fix him later. Anyway, my $5 word, back to my $5 word story, was propinquity.
And you were worried about my word? What the hell is that? Propinquity.
I almost don't want to tell everybody because I want them to go look it up, but I'm not sure I can. I'm not sure I can give you a succinct definition. But propinquity is kind of a thing that affects your communication patterns, and it's based on distance, right? So if someone sits right next to you, you will talk to them a lot. If someone sits in the cubicle or the workspace over from you, you'll talk to them a little bit less. And the further away they are, the less and less and less that you talk to them. And so propinquity is all about, the title of the article, Amos, is propinquity killing your team or your project or something? It was just so I could use the word propinquity.
Nice. I like that. I would, I think I'm going to have to remember that word.
You could drop it. It's a great consultant word, right? Because you could drop that statement on a team and ask them, you need to think about, is propinquity killing your project?
Problem is every time I hear you say the word, I get this vision of Pinky from Pinky in the Brain, and I just want to say, Narv.
What are we going to do tonight, Brain?
I never actually saw that show.
So I find that you talked about the distance there. I think part of it is also the openness that you have in the office. So
Right.
it's easy to not talk to the guy you can't see, right? So in an open office, that guy that's in the next cube or 3 cubes down, even if you don't have cubes, you just have desks sitting out there. Even if you're not like a war room team, you're going to talk to these people because you see them all the time. That guy 4 cubes away, you just don't visually see him ever.
And you forget, right? You forget about people because you don't see them regularly.
I know some people that I'd like to have them in a cubicle when I'm not, so I can forget about
You'd
them.
like to forget about them?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be sure to put my link to my $5 word propinquity in the show notes, and I'll also put a link to my blog post in there so you guys can go and see. I think it actually ended up being a good article, even though I just wanted to write it because of the word. Now you all know my dirty little secrets. You know what else is important on teams? Continuous deployment. And CodeShip makes continuous deployment simple. So Amos is laughing because I think that was a good segue.
That was the best transition I've ever heard.
I think continuous deployment is one of those issues that I would put out there as if we didn't do continuous deployment, it would be an issue. And I've been thinking a lot about continuous deployment and a lot about CodeShip, particularly lately, because I've been doing some writing on some things, and continuous deployment is one of those things that I think teams can't do without. And there's some tooling that you have to have in some way, shape, or form to facilitate continuous deployment. You can't just do it all manually, right?
Right.
So to me, CodeShip is like the perfect solution for continuous deployment. They wire in with all of the cloud technologies out there, all of the popular programming languages, all of the, what am I missing? All of the services, cloud services I mentioned, all of the frameworks, it's all of the database stuff that they're just real simple to work with. If there's something out there that they don't already have some integrations for, you can write your own.
I believe that if I had anybody in my sales funnel that I was talking to that said, "Oh yeah, we're using CodeShip," that I would probably drop everyone else out of my sales funnel and focus on that person, because I'm pretty sure that if they're doing continuous deployment, that when I come in, this is going to be an awesome job and a fun job, and we're gonna make some really great software.
That's a great point. And the guys at CodeShip, if you want to get Amos on your team and you want to get started with CodeShip, the good folks at CodeShip will help you out. They have a great blog. It's blog.codeship.io. They've got amazing videos out there for helping you get started with your projects, showing you some advanced features within their offering, as well as wiring up to all of the services that they integrate with. Software development's hard enough, guys. Let CodeShip make continuous deployment simple for you. Check them out today at codeship.io/thisagilelife and tell them that we sent you.
If you do have CodeShip, I am currently actually looking for some clients, so I will jump right on your team.
There you go. If you have CodeShip, call Amos. All right, guys, let's take another stride at this, a different approach, a different angle. I was trying to think of a $5 word for this, but nothing came to mind, so fail. What practices, we'll start with Amos this time, so get ready, Amos. So what practice, if the team was not doing it, would cause you to leave? So something that...
So what practice is a requirement for me to stay?
Requirement. Good way of putting it.
Retrospectives.
Why?
I'd like to add like 10 more requirements here, but we're going to start with retrospectives.
Sure.
Retrospectives are there to help the team change and improve. Whatever practices you don't have that I think that you need, maybe will come out in that retrospective. Or maybe your team really doesn't need them, but we'll find that out through talking and through retrospective and through the continuous improvement that comes out of that. I think that retrospectives not only find those practices, but they also are fantastic at team building, especially once you get that team to be open and honest with each other in that retrospective. It builds trust, it builds communication, and it helps us just improve. So retrospectives are it. That is the end all and be all for me.
I don't think anybody on this podcast would disagree with you on that. But let's just play this out. It's a perfect job. It's a perfect company. It's the perfect salary. from all external appearances, Amos, it's your dream job, right? You can work from home. It's Ruby-ish stuff and fun stuff and whatever is right now within Amos's wheelhouse of perfect job. But the manager, the project lead says the one thing we don't do is retrospectives. We feel like we're good enough as it is.
Is it we don't do or we won't do?
Yeah, it's both of those. We don't and we won't.
Well, I think that no matter how perfect it seems, if they're not trying to continuously improve through those things, then I'm going to say that it won't be long before that job doesn't seem so perfect.
So it's not just from your perspective retrospective, because retrospective is a manifestation of a way to work on continuous improvement. Your thing is really, the heart of your concern is a lack of dedication, a lack of commitment to continuous improvement.
And that communication. I think that one place of safety, yes, you can have an entire company of safety where you can say anything you want at any point in time. But a lot of people in most cultures aren't going to say anything until you pull them into that room and like give them, this is your time for a voice, unfortunately.
You said retrospective, so let's stick to retrospective. And let's say that there's no retrospectives. We're absolutely not going to do any retrospectives. But they claim that they have other ways that they're going about doing continuous improvement. First of all, I'd like to know if you've ever experienced formal or informal other ways that projects, people, teams, companies work on continuous improvement. And then if so, could some of these practices possibly be used rather than retrospectives?
Oh, you mean like a yearly review of an employee?
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
Did you just have a hairball or throw up?
Something caught in my throat.
Yeah.
You think that counts as continuous improvement of 1 year?
No, I don't even think when they do them. I've seen quarterly. I don't know. That whole review system doesn't seem to work for me. I've had quite a few ideas on how to improve that. But haven't been able to put a lot of them into practice at a lot of companies. But I think that whole review system's kind of messed up.
What do you think, Lee? I mean, what about something like, you read the book, The Toyota Way, and as did I, and they don't have retrospectives, right? But they have other things, like they do those big sheets of paper where they say we found this problem, and then they do
was it the A3s? Is that what it is?
A3s and Kaizen, right?
Yeah.
They use Kaizens to come up with ways to improve, and all the executives and all the senior leaders have to have mentors, or what do they call them? They didn't call them mentors. They call them something else, like something Asian martial artish, like
Like, I have no idea, but that was cracking me up.
All I can think of is dojo, but that's not the right word.
Sensei?
I forget. I know exactly where you're going with that. And I think that the point you made, John, is probably really the key, at least for me. And I think Amos would probably agree too. It really is about improvement here. And so I think that just like we have with where we don't really think that there are agile practices, so to speak. Agile is kind of a philosophy, and part of what's great about Agile is that it encourages you to redefine what Agile is based on what works for your team. So to me, as long as there is that kind of a mix of being able to change the process and to change the team for the better, hopefully, over time, then things can evolve. And I don't need any particular practice to be able to do that, be that retrospectives or anything else. But I think the sentiment that retrospectives and the whole idea of continuous improvement brings out, I think that's what Amos is really trying to get out here. But I don't want to put words in Amos's mouth.
No, you can put those words in my mouth exactly. Like if they come to me and say, we don't have retrospectives, but we do these other things, I want to hear about those other things, and I might be willing to take it, but I really want to understand what those other things are, and in a in-depth way.
And I also have to say that at least on the last team that I was on, one of the things I think we did moderately well is we said, don't wait for a retrospective. If we're going to have a retrospective every week, every 2 weeks, whatever, I think on that team it was once every 2 weeks. If something came up the day after the retrospective, I don't want to wait for 2 weeks until to get that handled. And I think the team did that pretty well. When there was a specific issue that they wanted to deal with, they would have a turnaround, and if necessary, we would go find a room and do an impromptu retrospective without a facilitator. And those worked really well, as long as there was something that the team really wanted to hash out.
And that's what I would be looking for in terms of support from an organization, is support for that continuous improvement, spending the time, and not talking about taking training, right? I'm talking about the stuff of every day, dealing with the everyday problems and being allowed to take that time. Where'd the team go? Oh my God, the team, they're not there. Well, they're down the hall. They're hashing some things out. Well, get them out of there. We need them back at their desk. It's giving them that space where you could say, they let the team work through these issues, find ways to continuously improve. And I think I'm trying to encourage people to think beyond purely retrospectives to a broader approach for continuous improvement. Because I think that what's happening in some cases is that, especially with Amos's favorite 5-letter word, Scrum, people go through these motions. And I still think that there's a little bit of value in at least going through and exercising the muscles involved with doing these ceremonies. But you need to get to a point where it's more than just getting together, going through the exercises, going through the game that you're going to play to conduct the retrospective. There has to be more to it. You can't just have people going through those motions long term, because they just become roboticized to it, if you will. They know what you're looking for. They know that you're expecting them to give a couple of tidbits of, we could do this better and we could do that better, but that there's a point where they start to become numb to it because it's the same thing over and over again. Are you saying you need
some sustenance in your retrospective?
Some sustenance?
Yeah, like some meat to it.
Something
there for you. I think that's where you get, I think a team needs to start out with it, trying to think, an external retrospective facilitator, at least to start, and one that is really good at that, because I think once you get them going, it's fine. I also have kind of a theory that I've seen on most teams, and that is you need to have the same number of retrospectives / iterations, whatever you want to call it, as people on the team before the team really starts to gel, because it seems to take that many. And when you add a new person to the team, it really seems to take about that many again before that person really gets into the fold and starts being open and honest and understanding that there is this trust level on the team, because that's really what you're doing from day one, is starting to build trust.
Yeah, and I've heard you say that before. I'm just saying that I want teams and people to start thinking about continuous improvement daily, hourly, and not just saving it all up for the retrospective, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we went way down the rabbit hole on your topic of retrospective. So,
well, I think we're all a little bit passionate about improving, and I think all of us have been facilitators multiple times.
Agree. We do all believe that retrospectives are very important here on this Agile Life. So, Lee, what's your practice that if you were, how did Amos put it? He put it well. If it was not done, if the practice was not going to occur on the team, it would cause you to leave.
I would have to say test-driven development.
It's not Friday fish tacos, Amos.
Oh, sorry. I typed that into our document for Lee.
What was yours again, Lee? Sorry.
Test-driven development.
Okay, TDD. Ooh, a very controversial topic. lately on the Twitterverse and in our community.
I know. I'm not sure exactly why it's quite so controversial. To me, I see the benefit of it on a daily basis, and it makes it so that I have no fear about leaving code at the end of the day, even if I'm going to be gone the next day, because I know that everything that I wrote is covered with tests. It's well documented. Therefore, I've refactored it on a regular basis. It's as clean as I can make it. That doesn't mean that somebody else can't make it better. And that's kind of why I love being on teams and in that kind of a atmosphere with pairing as well. But sorry, I'm jumping the gun here. TDD to me is just kind of the way that makes sense and the way that feels right about coding. I do it personally if I'm writing code. It's not like I just have to do it in a team either. For me, I can't see myself coding without it any longer.
I always try to ask people whenever they tell me, oh, you don't have to TDD, you just have to test, or even you don't always have to test, is can you tell me the benefits of test after or not testing at all that are greater than the ones of TDD? And then can you give me the ones of test first? So which one has the greater good? And I don't find a lot of people saying that anything is greater about not testing or even test after. They're not like, oh, well, you get this benefit. They're just like, well, it's easier for me to think about.
I'm in the same boat as Lee. And I was going to ask you, Lee, because I think that this is the litmus test for every person out there that says they're a staunch believer, supporter of TDD, is when you're alone by yourself writing code on your hobby project or whatever, do you use TDD? And you said you would.
Yeah.
And I do as well. I have a couple of projects that I've worked on my own or with a friend or something, and it's always been TDD. It's actually to the point for me anyway, and I don't know how you guys feel about this. It's one of these things where I almost don't remember how to go about it otherwise, and it's just like muscle memory. It's like the test comes first. There goes the test. I wrote the test. Now I write the code, and if I don't do that, it's like weird and scary, right? And that's the key. For me, it was always the scary thing. It was like, it's so scary.
I just got finished teaching a TDD class, and I used the following analogy because I had one of the students say, I totally see the benefit of this, and it feels right, but I'm not sure if I can keep this up, because of the level of discipline necessary to do test-driven development. And the analogy I gave was, well, how do you position your side mirrors on your car? I'm willing to bet that you do it incorrectly. So, and the way most people do it is they position their side mirrors so that they can just barely see the edge of their car, right? And according to experts in driving, in particular the Car Talk guys on NPR, their way of doing this, and I adopted it. You basically adjust your mirrors so that as a car is leaving your center rearview mirror, you can see the front of the car in your side mirror if it's appropriate to whatever side they're coming by you at. And then as they're leaving your side mirror, you can see them out of your periphery. And so there's never a blind spot. So I tell people this and say, it's going to feel really weird. It's going to feel scary at the beginning to do this. And you got to do it. Just do it and do it for 2 weeks. If you do it for 2 weeks and just force yourself to do it, after that point, that's the only way you could ever feel adjust your mirrors ever again, because you will be scared to death of missing something, because you will realize where your blind spots are. To me, TDD was the same way. Once I started doing it, I was so aware of all the blind spots that I used to have that I no longer have.
Ooh, so you're minimizing blind spots.
Exactly.
I think that's a great analogy. Do you think you mentioned 2 weeks, and that was for the adjustment of the mirrors?
Yeah.
What do you think in your personal experience, Lee, being that you teach, you've gone through the learning process of TDD, what do you think the normal uptake time is for a person to go from I don't understand it, then understanding it, and then ultimately to the point where they feel like I can't live without doing it this way?
I think it takes about a month of doing it every day and not slipping.
I think it has a lot to do with who's around you, who's taught you, and because I've seen some really bad TDD. And
That's true.
And that's where I see people being like, I don't need to use this, is because they haven't had good mentors. And so I think you need a month with good TDD people around you.
I would agree, Amos. Good point.
That was going to be, you mentioned mentor, Amos, and that was going to be the point I wanted to make to this, because when I had the opportunity to learn TDD and then use it in my job, it was actually a requirement of where I was working that you were assigned a mentor, and you were expected from the moment when you graduated from the class that you would write all of your code TDD following a TDD mechanism, and then a mentor would come by every so often to pair with you for an hour and then provide you with guidance and feedback and tips and help keep you on the rails. I didn't think so. That was a good practice because it was nice to have that mentor come around, but it felt a little bit like Big Brother was watching me. So I didn't really like the implementation of mentor, and I like the way you were describing it more, Amos, where it was the folks on the team, right? That you had a supportive nest in your team to help you, mentor you in your team environment, where it was a daily thing. It'd be a lot easier that way to help support the uptake of TDD in someone.
And imagine if you were doing that all the time with pairing, where you constantly had a mentor and were a mentor.
That would be like the just a doubler effect almost, right?
That's where I think I became effective. I was already doing TDD before I was pairing. And then once I started pairing, like, I think that my TDD skills and I'm also going to do it on my home projects where I'm just playing around, is like, that's where it came from. It's just that push of everyone around me and showing me all those blind spots that even doing TDD I didn't realize I had because I was doing parts of it wrong or missing big pieces of it.
Okay, so I guess it's down to me again, and I feel strongly about TDD as well, Lee. Although I don't think that particular practice would necessarily push me over the edge, because I have to admit that there are teams that I've worked on and with in the past 15 years since I learned TDD where we haven't used that. So that didn't push me necessarily over the edge. But I think if I was not able to work in small increments and I don't even want to say iterations, because that would confine myself to some sort of iteration-based approach. But just in small increments or with continuous flow, I think that might be a deal breaker for me now. I can't see myself going back to working in a way where, we had some sort of 3-month or 6-month target, or God forbid year target, where we said, we're going to develop this thing and release it in a year. I just don't think that I could go back to working in that way, to that old project management style of working. So small increments for me would be the deal breaker.
So no Gnat charts. I mean Gantt charts.
Gnat charts?
Gnat charts.
Gnat's ass. Yeah, it's got to be small increments of work.
I think
I got to admit that would probably be the one of those things that would drive me away too, Amos. If suddenly my manager came out and said, here's the next project we're doing. And they laid it all in a Gantt chart and said, I already did all your estimates for you. Here's the date where you're going to deliver it.
That's the worst, is when they say that they've done the estimates for you.
Yeah.
These are small, medium, and large. How many hours is a medium? And oh, by the way, this needs to be done next month. And we've already told the customer that this is when they're going to get it.
Do you guys feel like you could, taking the Gantt chart off of the table for a second?
Well, that's why it's a Gnat chart, is because every story should be so small and thin that you can't even see it on the Gantt chart.
It's like Gnat crap
Right.
on the Gantt chart, so it's even smaller than a Gnat.
Yes.
Gnat crap chart.
Gnat crap chart.
Yeah. Very thinly sliced stories are Gnat crap.
I believe that we might have a show title.
Yay! Could you guys work without small increments of work, or without continuous flow, or without, small delivery cycles?
No. It's super frustrating.
Are you doing it?
Are
you being forced to do it? Have you been?
I have been, and recently, and it took a lot of work to change that. But the team and the management has seen benefits behind it, so they're moving forward, working in those small increments. So that's really nice.
I just think that there are so many bad side effects. One, of not releasing with a frequency, and two, working in these long cycles. I mean, I'm just embroiled in something at the moment that I can't talk a lot about, but that it is so painful to release because it is so large, and it's not even that it's a long time of work. It's just that there are so many contributors and there's so much complexity in what gets done that the only way to solve it is to release all the time. Just always be releasing. ABR. Always be releasing.
I have to say, I always go back. I won't say always, but I parrot Amos a lot on that same kind of thing, John, about if there's something that is painful, do it often.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
That was an Amosism.
I would not doubt that I said that, but I probably stole it from somebody else. So I'm sorry, whoever you are.
Okay. So I think that's all we have time for in terms of talking about these practices, but I don't want to end this conversation because I'm having so much fun with it. Maybe we can encourage all of our friends out there listening to chat us up on Twitter and let us know. You can answer either of the two questions, right? So the two questions were, what practice, if done on a team, would cause you to leave that team? Let us know if you have any of those. Or conversely, if you have a practice that if it wasn't done on your team, it would cause you to leave the team or very strenuously want to leave the team. Maybe you're stuck, right? Because you need a paycheck. But let us know what these practices or what do you think?
I want to say that all of these are individually, we kind of have said this would cause me to leave a team. And they may not really. These are really just a set of warning signs. What are your warning signs of a good team and your warning signs of a bad team? Like a team that you would want to be on and a team that you wouldn't want to be on.
Let's just say if any of these things were happening, I would be floating some resumes.
Yes.
It doesn't mean I would go anywhere.
I would see LinkedIn open on your browser a lot.
There you go.
All right, so tweet us up at This Agile Life and let us know if you have any thoughts.
This week's hottest picks.
All right, Lee, you're up first tonight with your pick.
Okay, first off, I want to plug a fellow podcaster and really nice guy, all around smart dude, Luther Baker. He has a new site where you can get links to his podcast as well. And in the show notes, we'll have the link to the iTunes podcast page. But anyway, his website is at www.effectiveprogramming.com. That's EFF, effective, not A. That's a really cool podcast that I've been listening to. He's got a few episodes up already, and very cool stuff. more, especially for those people that are really into the coding and some of the technical details. He's much more on that side than the philosophy, but he gets into that too. Really cool stuff. So check him out. The other thing that I've got is this one's more. I follow programming.com on Google Plus, and they commonly put out some very funny stuff. Some useful things, but mostly it's humorous stuff. So I encourage you to check out programming.com on Google Plus for a laugh a day.
So it's humorous stuff, Lee? Is that what you get out of programming.com?
Mostly it's humorous stuff. Yeah. So like that image I sent you guys earlier about the Android and the Ordroid and yeah, that was all from programming.com.
Oh, very cool. I'm going to have to circle them or whatever you do on Google Plus. I'm not sure. Something like that. Okay, Amos, we're throwing it over to you for your picks, man.
All right, so I've got 3 picks for you tonight. First one is Docracy. It's fantastic if you ever have any legal work that you need done. It's like LegalZoom, but free. There's lots of documents out there that people have put up, and you can even get documents signed in there. So if you're a consultant or a freelancer, it's a fantastic place to at least go look. Maybe you don't have to use them, but it gives you an idea of what you're looking for. My second one is Amazon Prime. It's just, free shipping, get all my stuff. Plus they have movies and music. It's my free time place to go, even though I don't have much of that. And then my last is Ruby Decamp, which is a free unconference put on by Evan Light in Virginia, where you go out and you go camping for a couple days. They have a day of like planning and an open spaces conference, and then a hack day where they you split off and work on the game of life all day. So it's pretty interesting, and it's all out in the woods. You get to sleep on a cot and hang out, and it's all free, paid for by its sponsors.
Out in the woods?
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
I don't like the woods.
It forces you to talk to people instead of looking on Google for your answers.
Well,
and all your bugs, you can just slap them off.
Like mosquitoes. How do you have a conference in the woods? Well, I guess this isn't a conference, right?
I've done this before.
It's an unconference.
It's an unconference, but I've done this before.
Is an unconference like a thing? Can I go look at how to do an unconference, or is an unconference just everything that a conference is not?
I believe that you can search for this on Google and find a couple of unconferences, and I'm pretty sure Evan Light's a good guy. He'll probably talk to you about it.
Where is where is it being held at?
Virginia,
the woods of Virginia.
I can't remember. Let me look real quick.
In the shadow of the Pentagon.
Pause. Decamp.
So Lee, I was really disappointed while Amos is looking up where Ruby Decamp is. I was disappointed that I wasn't able to stick around at the Agile Games 2014 because I didn't get to participate in the open spaces thing, and I'm very interested in.
Oh, that's what they have here.
Yeah, I didn't stick around either. I was gone the next morning. I missed it too.
Prince William National Forest Park.
Prince William.
So it's not like random creepy guy's backyard.
Yeah,
but you're not allowed to poach any animals on the Prince's Forest.
It's not like being in Amos's backyard at free unconference. Amos.
Yeah, we just shoot things and then program.
Okay, good picks, Amos.
Programming and eating possum.
I just don't understand. I mean, do they have internet and power outlets? And I'm gonna have to find out more about this.
I don't know. You're gonna have to look.
I encourage you to do the same. Here are my picks tonight. So a long while back, I actually didn't have a chance to look. I may have mentioned this tool or this site before, but it was in like a private beta, and I was not part of that. So I'm not trying to sound like a douche or anything, but it's called Croc Agile. And it's a new tool / collaboration / communication tool site for projects. And it's Kanban style boards and stories. And it takes a lot of the things that you see in the very popular tools today and does kind of a Basecamp puts some Basecamp functionality in there. And if you've ever used Basecamp, there's a lot of real-time communication and message boarding sort of stuff in there. And so it's if I had to put kind of a metaphor around it, I'd say it's like Lean Kit plus Basecamp. So check it out. I think they now have an open beta, and I think you can also purchase subscription. Check them out, crocagile.com. And of course, I'm going to put a link to my $5 Word article in here on propinquity. The title is is a lack of propinquity killing your project or something like that. But I'll put that out there for you guys, and you can have fun with that. All right, guys. Well, that's all we have time for today. Check out thisagilelife.com for our show notes and for all of our past episodes. Thanks for listening, and keep living this Agile life.
This Agile Life is brought to you by a community of Agile developers and coaches aspiring to spread the word about this groundbreaking approach to software development. Join us at thisagilelife.com/community.